What's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Got Next podcast. I'm your host, Mitchell Baldwin, with my co-host, Donovan Moore.
Yes, sir. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. We got Ben and Bo's Day Dash back on the show with us. Say what's up, B.
Happy holidays to you guys as well. Hasn't been too good of a holiday season for my Steelers, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Not a lot of our teams are doing pretty hot right now, I'm not going to lie. So we'll kind of get into that a little bit more as the show goes on. But as for right now, man, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that type of stuff, man. Follow the socials, as you can see, at the Got Next Podcast on Instagram and TikTok. And without further ado, got our matchup prediction show, our weekly show that we usually have for you guys. So make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that type of stuff like I just said. Let's get into the intro.
Three-pointers. Outside jumper from three at the buzzer.
Alrighty, so first game that we have coming up here, and I think about 3 hours now, actually, not too far away. We have Thursday Night Football, the Saints versus the Rams. Kind of, two pretty good teams here. B, who do you have for this matchup?
I got the Rams. I think they've really turned things around. Stafford's looking healthy and playing well again. Their defense is looking a little bit better, and obviously, last couple of games, Cooper Kupp's come back alive, and Puka Nakua's been having a good year all year. They also got Kyron Williams, who's been running the ball well. The Saints are, I guess, okay, but they really haven't really looked good in sequential weeks throughout the year. And I obviously, Derek Carr, like we all know who he is at this point. He's not bad, but sometimes it's a stretch saying he's good. So I mean, that all being said, it's in LA. The Rams are competing for a wild card spot. The Saints are competing for a division, so it is going to be hard fought. But I do like the Rams in this.
Yeah, I'm actually going to take the Rams as well. And my reasoning for taking the Rams, in addition to your points with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua is starting to come along and things like that, I'm also going to say just the coaching as well. The Saints, I don't think they're that much of a well-coached team, and the Rams obviously have Sean McVay. The Saints, although they do have a strong defense, I think they can keep it close. I think the Rams, they kind of want to prove they can get back to the playoffs without that top-heavy team they had a few years ago that made that Super Bowl run. So I'm going to take the Rams to win.
I think I also, on paper, like the Rams to win this game, but I could absolutely see the Saints coming and winning this game. They have the weapons to do so. Like B said, they have Derek Carr, who, to this point, a little bit injury prone. Also hasn't played up to par when he has had the opportunity to play. So I have no reason to pick the Saints here. I think the Rams have looked better recently, but I could actually see it going the other way. But going to rock with the Rams ultimately in this matchup. Next up, some early football on Sunday. B, this is clearly your team, so you can go ahead and take it away here, man. Bengals versus Steelers.
This is actually Saturday 4:30, so we got two Saturdays. This one and then the Bills Chargers, but I guess that'll just end the week early for the Steelers, like it has the last 2 weeks. Mason Rudolph starting, no Minka Fitzpatrick, and no DeMonte Casey. I really don't care that Jamar Chase isn't playing. The Steelers just do not look good right now. Do not look confident. Do not look like themselves, lacking a lot of leadership, especially on the offensive side of the football. It's sad to say, but I don't see a reason to pick the Steelers in this game. I got the Bengals.
See, and I was going to go with the Bengals until you just told me Jamar Chase is out. No Jamar Chase. Minka Fitzpatrick is a big part of your defense, but as long as TJ Watt's playing, the Steelers always got a shot. You guys have kind of been in the funk lately, but I think Mason Rudolph can somehow win this game for you all. I don't know how, but I think Mason Rudolph will win this game for you all. I'm going to go with the Steelers.
Hope you're right.
I don't know. Ooh. Yeah, I'm going to go. The game's in Pittsburgh?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I'm going with the Steelers at home. It'll be a close game, a 13-10 type of game, something like that. But Bennett will get a Christmas gift here. I think the Steelers will win.
Currently looking to see Chase's numbers real quick.
I did not know Jamar Chase wasn't playing. That changed things. What happened to him?
Shoulder. But it was like last week we knocked Pittman out of the game, but it also ejected KZ and suspended for the rest of the year. And our defense looked terrible once he checked out of the game because then Minka got hurt. So it's like they still got T. Higgins,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like
I don't think they're going to score a lot of points, but it's not too hard to outscore the Steelers.
I mean, but I think going to Mason Rudolph may have been the best move you all could have made.
Could be. It's crazy to think it can get a lot worse without Kenny Pickett, but it somehow can.
That's actually, that's another topic for another day. But that's
exactly.
I like the Bengals for some reason in this matchup. Actually, no, I like the Steelers. I don't know. There's a lot going on here. I like Browning. Browning's been pretty good. I'll go ahead and say that for the Bengals. I like what he's done. Mason Rudolph hasn't really played all season, so not expecting much. Also, I'm not the football savant. I don't really know his past. I don't really know what he's capable of. To be honest with you, can anybody let me know?
He got hit in the head with a helmet by Myles Garrett.
Yeah, that's what he's famous for.
That's what he's famous for.
Yep.
All right, so gonna still go with the Steelers here. I like the weapons overall, defensively and offensively. Even though Jamar Chase is out for the Bengals, I think that the Steelers kind of just have enough. They have receivers. They have the dual running back threat, which has actually been pretty good between Najee and Jaylen Warren. Both pretty explosive, but it seems like either both of them get it going or neither of them gets it going. It really seems like no in between. So, but I mean, the run game is there. It's still a threat. So ultimately going to rock with the Steelers. This could be a really bad game. This could be like a 6-0 or 6-3 like the Chargers. Not that long ago. We got the Bills and the Chargers up next. B, how you feel about this one?
I mean, it looks like the Bills are on a roll, honestly, especially the last couple weeks. For some reason that they also have a bad habit of playing down to their competition. But, I mean, the Chargers are depleted at this point. They got Easton Stick playing QB. And we saw what that was like against the Raiders last Thursday. Their defense is clearly throwing in the towel. They did fire their coach, so maybe they have some fire lit into them. But their season's over. The Bills are fighting for a playoff spot and still have a chance to win the division, honestly, if the Cowboys can beat the Dolphins, which we'll get to later. But, the Bills would have to try really, really hard to lose this game. So I'll roll with them here.
Yeah, I got Buffalo. They're pretty much playing each week like in a survivor mode, really. Like each game means the most to the Bills. Every week is a playoff game for them. So I'm gonna go with the Bills to win here, especially without Herbert. This game shouldn't be close, but like you said, Buffalo kind of plays down to their competition, so it could be a little close, but I still think they'll find a way to win.
Yeah, I don't really think there's much of a conversation to have here. I mean, I just talked about the Chargers and how they struggle to score points against the Patriots. So, I mean, against the red hot Bills right now, I mean, I clearly can't pick you. Austin Eckler hasn't looked like Austin Eckler really basically all season. Seems like they can't keep their receivers healthy for a full season either. I don't know if Keenan Allen playing this week. It doesn't matter. I'm picking the Bills. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. So that's my bad. Next up, we got the Colts and the Falcons. The battle of mid here, fellas. Who's gonna be more mid this week? Talk to me, B.
This is a good game.
I'm gonna go with the Colts because the Falcons. It's just that whole NFC South division, man. You just never know what you're getting out of them. Like, the fact that the Buccaneers are still the first place team and they lost Tom Brady last year just proves that that division is not good.
They got Heineke starting this week.
Yeah, but Desmond Ritter's benched the rest of the year. I mean, I'm not saying the Falcons can't win this game at home because the Colts are sort of mid too, but they're a little over mid, I'd say, and they're fighting for a playoff spot too. They both are, but it's a lot harder to get a wild card than it is to win your division. So, I mean, I'm gonna go with the Colts here. I think Gardner Minshew is pretty hot right now, and while they might not have Michael Pittman in this game, they still I feel like they'll just put together a better game plan than the Falcons. I think Shane Steichen's done a really good job coaching that team. They look like they have a direction. And I mean, Arthur Smith, I mean, the Falcons talk about him like he's good, but he really hasn't been able to develop anyone like Kyle Pitts, Drake after Desmond Ritter, and then Bijan hasn't really been doing anything the last few weeks. So I mean, they just don't look like they have many things going for them. They just look like they're that team that's always going to have a couple more losses than wins, and that'll be official after this week, I think. So I got the Colts.
This is such a tough game. I agree with you. The Colts head coach Shane Steichen has been doing a really excellent job with that team because I'm pretty sure at least speaking for myself, I didn't expect much out of the Colts this year, but to see them to be like really in the heat of the playoff battle in the AFC, that's hats off to him. With that being said, I'm gonna go with the Falcons this week. My reasoning for going with the Falcons, it's like I don't know what it is with the Falcons. Like they can't get a consistent winning streak together or a consistent losing streak. So they'll win one, lose one, then win one. So just going off of that trend, I'm gonna go with the Falcons. I think Taylor Heineke might, although he's not a franchise quarterback or anything like that, just watching him from Washington, he can kind of just like make plays that energizes the team or like really rallies people around him. So I think the Falcons will win a close one here, 21-20, something like that. But I think they'll find a way to win, control the clock, run the football.
Difficult game to call here. I think Pittman being out is actually pretty big for me. But Donna, you just talked about how the Falcons are kind of inconsistent, and I feel like that's because week in and week out, they don't really stick with like a sort of game plan, or like they don't really even stick with the same players week to week. Like seems like you'll see one week Bijan Robinson goes off, and then the next week it's Tyler Algier getting a bunch of rushes, and then one week Jonathan Smith is getting all the receptions, and then the next week he has 0 targets. It's like what? Nothing is consistent with the Falcons. You never know what you're gonna get, but all the pieces are there. So like as a Falcons fan, I'd be pretty upset because everything's there for you to win and like be competitive week in and week out, but like you just never know what you're gonna get from Arthur Smith. And Arthur Smith is one of the most hated, coaches in fantasy football, as everybody knows, just because like they're unpredictable. So I'm gonna go with the Colts. Also, the Colts again, Jonathan Taylor back while they do have Pittman out. JT's back this week. He practiced in full today. So expecting some things from the Colts, even though Pittman's out. Guys like Alec Pierce and like Josh Downs and guys like that have been able to step up kind of all season. So and again, Minshew's been pretty good recently too. So I like the Colts in this matchup. Next up, we got the Packers and the Panthers, two teams that I seem to confuse myself with a lot just because of the similarities of name here. B, talk to me.
I got to rock with the Packers. I know they've been really inconsistent this year too, but it's expected with the change at QB. The Panthers are just awful. I know they got a good win last week against the Falcons, another inconsistent team, but I don't think they do. I don't think they do it 2 in a row.
Yeah, I'm going with the Packers as well. I kind of thought they would end up being a wild card team as the season went along, but they kind of lost these last 2 and tailed off. But I feel like at the minimum, the Packers have found their quarterback of the future in Jordan Love. I think he'll only get better, and I got the Packers beating the lowly Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the Packers are good enough to beat the bad teams, like the really bad teams, but like when you go up against a good team, it's like, probably not going. So yeah, this one I'll pick the Packers. Next up, we got the Browns and the Texans. Is CJ Stroud back this week? Does anybody know?
Oh, no, he's out again, I think. That's what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, Browns for me, buddy. But I mean, of course we got to go around. Go ahead, B.
Yeah, I mean, I got the Browns too. I mean, Joe Flacco. It's been impressive that he's won games in them. He didn't play that well last week, and they still won. So I think Kevin Stefanski, you got to throw his name in the hat for Coach of the Year. So I mean, I'm gonna pick the Browns. Texans. It's credit to them and their coaching staff for having the year they've had. No one expected them to be good, but it looks like they're just a little too injured right now to sneak in.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Browns as well. Like you said, Flacco kind of had a down game last week, but then he kind of made the plays they needed towards the end of the game. So I'm going to go with the Browns to win this one. CJ Stroud being out really hurts for the Texans. They still found a way to win last week with Case Keenum, but that was the Titans. I don't think they'll be able to get away with this against the Browns, especially that Browns defense. So I'm going with Cleveland.
I like that Stefanski for Coach of the Year bid that you tried to put in there. I definitely think that's something to talk about. The Browns have had a lot that they've had to deal with this season between Deshaun Watson sucking, Nick Chubb, his season ending early on, having to sign Kareem Hunt back like last minute, and then that having to work Jerome Ford in. Like they've had a lot of different stuff going on this year, and still really been able to stem the tide and have one of the best defenses in the NFL. So obviously I like them this week, and yeah, the Texans without CJ Stroud, it's hard to pick them. So yeah, definitely rocking with the Browns this week. The Lions and the Vikings. Who do you got here, B?
I'm going to go with the Lions. I think Mullins clearly showed he's more capable backup than Josh Dobbs in terms of lighting up the scoreboard. But I also think the Lions. I know they always kind of get talked badly about when they lose games, but I knew they were going to beat Denver last week because they don't lose back to back, and they looked really strong. And Jared Goff had one of his best games as a pro. I just think they're a little too lit on offense for the Vikings to stay with them. They'd have to not play their game, and really would have to get out coached to lose this game. I think they're just way too strong a team. And if they win the game, they clinch the division. They clinch a division that they haven't won since 1992. So I think obviously they're going to win it no matter what, based on the rest of the schedule. But I think it's probably been the pep talk their whole week in their locker room. So I think they get it done here.
Are the Lions still in play for the 2 seed, or they're pretty much locked in?
I think they are in play. They definitely are in play for the 2 seed because they're 10-4, just like the Eagles and Cowboys, and they play the Cowboys after the Vikings.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Division on the line. Lions are playing for a lot here. It seems like I'm gonna go with the Lions. Like you said, they're explosive on offense. Their defense sometimes leaves a lot of plays out there on the football field, but going up against Minnesota this week, who I have to give them their credit. They fought hard with all the injuries they've had. No Jefferson, Kirk Cousins for a while. Minnesota, I got to give a lot of credit to their coach just for putting them in this position to still be in the playoff fight. But the Lions just have higher aspirations. I think they're playing for a bigger goal here. I got Detroit.
Absolutely, and I think Detroit also, on top of having more to play for this week, just has the better team, especially having the help of the quarterback. So they have the clear advantage here. Their team is nasty between the run game and the receivers. Sam freaking Laporta, man, lost a lot of people their fantasy matchup last week. That boy went off. So I was rocking with the Lions in this matchup. Not much else to talk about here. Dono, got the Commanders versus the Jets this week. How you feeling about your Commanders?
Honestly, if there's something else to watch on TV, I would recommend that. Aaron Rodgers isn't even playing this week. That would have maybe been something to look to see how he plays coming off a torn Achilles. But you got the worst ranked defense in the league going against the worst ranked offense. TV doesn't get more terrible than that. So if I had to choose, I just feel like the Commanders' locker room has kind of given up. So I'm going to go with the Jets because they still are kind of playing hard and fighting for their coach. I just feel like Washington just needs a full reset. They're ready for Rivera to go. So I just feel like players are kind of looking forward to the season finishing instead of looking forward to the game they're playing that week. So I got the Jets.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Jets too, just because I feel like, the Commanders kind of threw in the towel when they made those midseason trades, and Rivera after that just probably knew he was coaching for game checks because obviously, new ownership, they're going to want to bring in their guys at the end of the year. So, the Jets, their season's obviously mathematically over too, but Robert Saleh probably doesn't feel like he can afford for them to just play terrible the last few games. I know he gets the excuse of not having Aaron Rodgers this year, but he still has to look competent enough for the Jets not to want to make a change next year. I think, the likelihood is they might still make a little bit of a change. Nathaniel Hackett might get dumped as OC, even though that's Aaron Rodgers' boy. It's just hard in New York to bring the same product back. Obviously, Zach Wilson probably won't be the backup there next year. So a lot of people are fighting for, future employment, I think. So I think that's why they'll play a little harder. Rivera, obviously, I think is putting in the retirement papers after this season. So that's that right there.
Yeah.
While all of us, including myself, have the Jets winning this matchup, I think that last week was not all bad for the Commanders. Terry McLaurin sent me home, sent me packing in the fantasy football playoffs. Terry McLaurin had his best game of the season. And look, Jacoby Brissett looked pretty good for them, in their backup role. So I like that. And but yeah, ultimately picking the Jets here. I like what they have all the way around, and I need Breece Hall to, give them some points this week. So, go Breece Hall. We got the Seahawks and the Titans next up. B, talk to me.
Not positive, but I think Ryan Tannehill is going to play because I think they said Will Levis has a grade 3 ankle sprain. And the Seahawks are still fighting for wild card position. So, pretty much regardless of who's starting, I'll roll with the Seahawks, even though they're not very trustworthy. They got a nice win against the Eagles. They're still, a decent team. They're obviously well coached. And they're kind of in this position every year, especially now that Russ is gone. They're fighting for a wild card spot late in the year. So I think, they got to get a win like this. Titans just aren't that good, and it'd be better in their interest to have a better draft pick. So, I think one team should be playing harder than the other here.
Is Drew Lock their starter for the rest of the year?
No, I think Gino's going to be back.
Oh,
I don't know about this week, though. Let me check.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, he's back.
He's coming back. Gino's back. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Seahawks as well. Like you said, they're playing for a wild card spot too. What's the NFC playoff seeding then? Because the Seahawks and the Rams and Saints all have the same record.
The Seahawks are outside looking in. The Vikings and Rams are currently in.
Wow.
The Vikings and Rams are in. Seahawks are out looking in.
Yeah, I got the Seahawks this week. I'm surprised the Titans didn't give Malik Willis a shot here. I mean, you know what Tannehill is, but whatever. They're out of the playoffs for a reason. I got the Seahawks.
It seems to me like they don't like Malik Willis for real. Like, I mean, and I really wouldn't at this point, to be honest with you. I think he seemed like he was more exciting before they started giving him playing time, and then when they started giving him playing time, he just hadn't really done anything with it, to be honest with you. So, yeah, ultimately going with the Seahawks here. Obviously, they're coming off a really big game last week. A really big win against the Eagles. Huge win for them. Gave the Eagles their third loss in a row. Crazy. We will talk about that later for sure. But yeah, I had the Seahawks in this matchup. Jags versus Bucks. This is actually pretty interesting matchup here. Baker Mayfield with the perfect QBR last week, 4 touchdowns. Looked pretty good to me. B, are you picking them against the Jags this week?
I actually am, believe it or not. And I did not think, a few weeks ago that I would be making this pick, but Baker's really impressing me, and Trevor Lawrence really isn't, to be honest with you. Obviously not saying he's not a great talent who can have a good career, but Trevor Lawrence is in his third year, and compare that to someone like Lamar by his third year, or Josh Allen by his third year, Joe Burrow by his third year. They all look better. Even though Justin Herbert can't figure out a way to win a game, he looks better than Trevor Lawrence individually. So I mean, he's not even, I wouldn't even consider him really top tier in the AFC. But I mean, obviously he's good because the Jaguars are likely to make the playoffs back-to-back years. I can't remember the last time the Jaguars ever made the playoffs back-to-back years. So, I mean, obviously he's the difference maker for their franchise, but he's just really not playing that well. And Baker Mayfield is sort of playing for a future career as starter. He's kind of, I think it is very likely he gets that Geno Smith treatment after this year. Maybe he gets a small little deal from the Bucs to be their quarterback for a little longer. So, I mean, I just think they're more inspired. I think he wants to prove that the Bucs can be just as good, if not better, than what they were last year with Tom Brady and the exact same team, which is pretty crazy. So I want to see the Bucs win this division, to be honest with you. So I'll go with the Bucs here.
I'm actually going to take the Jaguars this week. I feel like the Jaguars kind of realized they're playing with fire. And, I mean, if C.J. Stroud wasn't hurt this week, the Jaguars would almost be on the cusp of losing that division. So I feel like they kind of got to tighten up here as the playoffs kind of get closer. So I'm going to go with the Jags this week. I think it'll be a very close game. But I think the Jaguars will get back on track here. The NFC South, they're probably the worst division in football for a reason. All of those teams are inconsistent. So Baker Mayfield coming off that great performance last week, I can see him coming back this week and throwing like 2 picks and the Bucs losing. So I'm going to go with the Jaguars.
Before I make my pick here, fellas, I got a graphic here that I want you guys to take a gander at. I've been showing everybody this week. You guys can look at this. Tom Brady on one side, Baker Mayfield on the other. Season comparison.
He's having like the exact same year he had last year. Yeah, it's crazy. It's not a little better.
Yeah, he's playing like Brady. All right, yeah. Now it might be the worst Brady we've ever seen, but it's Brady nonetheless. All right, he's still Tom Brady. So
28-year-old Baker playing like 45-year-old Brady.
Exactly. So I mean, and he's on a roll right now. There's no way I can pick against Baker right now. I mean, and I love the weapons that they have. It's really not even all about Baker. Mike Evans is obviously having a great season. Godwin is still really good. And man, that is not getting enough credit league-wide. The name is Rachaad White. We'll know who it is after this season. Rachaad White is a freaking beast. He's been killing it week in and week out. 4 straight games with 100-plus scrimmage yards. He's one of the first Bucs to do that since 2012. So, yeah, he is disgusting, and I think that he's going to be a big reason why the Bucs get this win against the Jags this week. Next up, we got the Cardinals versus the Bears. 2 rushing quarterbacks here. B, who do you have winning this matchup?
I'm not going to lie. I think both of these teams could be, vastly improved next year. I kind of like the Cardinals' offense. They need a wide receiver other than Hollywood Brown, but I think Trey McBride looks good. They clearly have a good running game with James Conner. I think their offensive line's pretty good. And who's their other running back? I forget, but he ran well last week against the Niners. And obviously Kyler Murray's pretty good too. So I think the future's bright in Arizona. Even though they have a 3-11 record, they've like half of their losses have been really close games. So they've definitely competed this year. But ultimately, I'm going to rock with the Bears. You're going from the desert in Arizona to, windy, possibly snowy Chicago. And Justin Fields is, competing for a job at this point. He could be moved if these last 3 games end badly.
Yeah, I got the Bears as well. The Bears have been playing solid football, even though they're not really in playoff contention. They're still kind of fighting hard for their coach, and I gotta commend them for that. That's honorable. Like you said, Justin Fields is playing for a job. I think he should be the Bears quarterback, unless obviously they get the number 1 pick and they want Caleb Williams. But the Bears kind of have leverage here. They're kind of in a win-win, honestly. So I got the Bears.
I actually have the Cardinals in this matchup, and I don't really know why. I just have a feeling that the Cardinals can win this. Outside of Kyler and James Conner, who's been playing really well for them, Trey McBride, man, he's one of the best tight ends in the league right now, especially rookies. Like, man, he's been killing it. I mean, I can't really name a lot of tight ends that are performing better than him. And with Marquise Brown out, you would have thought that, their pass game would have definitely suffered a little bit. And it really hasn't, all because Trey McBride's been that guy for them. So I like that 1-2 punch that they have. And again, the Cardinals do have a definitely bright future going forward. So gonna rock with the Cardinals in this matchup. I can see it going the other way for sure, but ultimately gonna go with the Cardinals here. All right, we got the Cowboys and the Dolphins. I actually don't have a football team anymore, so I will not be going first here. B, you can go ahead and take it away.
Damn, the Cowboys were on a roll for a little bit, so maybe you're trying to use that reverse psychology like you used after the Niners game. But to be honest with you, this game's the toughest game of the year to pick because I could see Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle just burning the Cowboys because I don't know if they got the speed to play with him. But I also saw that the Dolphins' whole starting offensive line missed practice yesterday, and that's got to hunger guys like Micah and D-Law. So, I mean, the Cowboys have never lost back-to-back under McCarthy since Dak Prescott had that wicked leg injury. So that's another thing I'm considering here. They've also been 12-5 the last 2 years. So, I mean, they probably got to lose this one to be 12-5 again. Got a tough game against Detroit at home next week. They're obviously way better at home than they are on the road. But Miami also isn't really that big of a home field advantage. I guarantee a lot of Cowboys fans live in Miami and probably more than Dolphins fans at that stadium tomorrow or on Sunday. So I'm gonna roll with the Cowboys here. I just trust them a tiny bit more. The Dolphins usually just don't beat big dogs, and sometimes it's a little insulting to call the Cowboys a big dog because they have the same exact criticism. But they've done a good job handling teams that aren't considered better than them. I know the Bills had a worse record than them, but they were playing at Buffalo, and let's be honest, the Bills still have a better QB, even though Dak's having the better year. So Tua and Dak, I'll go with Dak because of the experience, and I just think Cowboys are just so slightly better that they're going to pull this out.
This is really a tough game because all the weekly picks we've been doing on here all season, we've been saying the same things about both teams. I feel like they don't beat teams that are good. They don't beat like playoff caliber teams. Cowboys did beat Philadelphia, albeit at home, but a win's a win. And it's finally like these two teams are finally meeting, and one finally has to step up and beat a good team. Wow, this is
these teams are twin brothers right here.
Yeah,
the exact same philosophy, but same kind of they fall victim to the same type of teams.
This is tough. This is tough because it's like the Cowboys lose, you go home and play Detroit next week, which I think that I'm actually gonna. Ooh, damn! I'm gonna go with the Dolphins. The reason I just think Mike McDaniel, even if they miss a couple stars on the O-line, he'll still scheme a way to not just have Tua being a sitting duck back there in the pocket. He's a smart coach. At least offensively, he's a smart play caller. And then flip it to the defensive side of the football. I think the Dolphins, Vic Fangio is a very good defensive coordinator. He'll try the best he can to keep CeeDee Lamb out of the game. That's why they went and got a Jalen Ramsey. They still have a Xavier Howard there. So I think the Dolphins will find a way to win this football game. I could see it being a shootout. Two very solid offenses here, but I think the Dolphins at home just have too much speed. And I just think they'll win. I think they'll win this game.
It's definitely a hard pick. Ultimately, you guys are going to be shocked at my pick. I am picking the Cowboys in this matchup. Of the two fraudulent teams, I think the less fraudulent is going to be the Cowboys. Donovan just talked about it. They have beat at least one a team above 500, at least one elite team. That would be the Eagles. At least one team I thought was elite. I don't really know what they are as of right now. But yeah, the Dolphins have yet to do that all season. But I absolutely can see it going the other way too. And I have Tua in fantasy, so that's kind of something I've been wrestling with all week. Is like he may have a high ceiling, but I can also see him sucking significantly in this game. So I don't really know what to do with that. I think I am going with the Cowboys, man. But I think if any team can really embarrass the Cowboys here, it can be the Dolphins. So I think with those creative play calls, and like we talk about Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, their run game, the Dolphins' run game is nasty. Like Raheem Mostert has the most touchdowns in the NFL. We forget about. So it's like
part of me wants to change to the Dolphins because everything you're saying, and also I just remember that Zach Martin's status is up in the air, and I know Dak is not the same quarterback when Zach is not blocking for him. I mean, because that guy held out at the beginning of the year, and Jerry caved in pretty fast after that. So I mean, I think he knows that the offense is the same. This game's damn near impossible to call. I guarantee. I thought Bills Cowboys was going to be the game of the week, but I'm very confident that this one actually will live out to be that type of game.
There's one more I want to talk about as far as games of the week, but I think this is just a tough one, and I think if any team can embarrass the Cowboys and make them look really bad and make everybody change their opinion on them, it's the Dolphins, and it would be very embarrassing. Like I think it would be at least a 20-point loss if the Dolphins were to like really try here, really go off, really reach their full potential. But I have the Cowboys all the time.
Did you see that Micah Parsons is like on paper favorite of Defensive Player of the Year? I'm not hating on him. I like Micah a lot, but I do not think he's Defensive Player of the Year this year. I know he's the best. He's got the best team out of all those candidates, but it's like it's an individual award. And I'm like, you're not having as good of a year as TJ Watt. You're not having as good of a year as Myles Garrett. Hell, you might not even be having as good of a year as your teammate Deron Bland. So I mean,
yeah.
I'm seeing the Micah Parsons hype. I think he gets way too overrated for what he is right now. At this,
the NFL needs to wants to give him a decoy. I think just because he's a big name on a big name team.
They try to whatever, man. I'm not talking about Micah Parsons. We got the Patriots and the Broncos up there.
This is a nasty game.
This is nasty. I'm not gonna lie. This is gross. Who do you have here, B?
I'm just confused because the NFL had weeks to flex this out of Sunday night, and they decided not to. Maybe they thought Christmas Eve no one will be watching anyway, but maybe that's why they kept it what they did. But this game is every bit of the word nasty, but might also be nasty enough for the Broncos to win 13-0 or something like that, because I think the Broncos defense is pretty good and the Patriots offense is pretty awful, and Russell Wilson is pretty mid. So I think that's the perfect formula for the Broncos to win something like that. And that's a compliment to call Russ mid based on how we were talking about him a year ago, but it looks like I feel badly for him watching those videos of Sean Payton looking like he's bullying him, but I mean, clearly he got him to rediscover himself a little bit. Obviously, he's not Seattle Russ anymore. That Russ is long and gone, but he's looking somewhat respectable, and the Broncos are, contending for a playoff spot. I ultimately think they're going to come up just short, but they got to win a game like this, I think.
Yeah, I got the Broncos. I just, for the love of God, I hope they put the Dolphins and Cowboys game as the Sunday night game. That would be a lot better, but I got the Broncos.
Yeah, I have the Broncos as well. Not much to talk about here. We can actually move on immediately. The Raiders and the Chiefs. Again, I don't know who's really picking the Raiders in this matchup, B.
Nah, Christmas Day game in Kansas City at Arrowhead. I know the Chiefs offense hasn't been what it normally is used to being this year, but boy, were the Chiefs lucky for their last 4 games to be playing backup quarterbacks in all 4 of them. So they'll close out the season 12-5, I think, and based on how the other 3 division winners do, we'll see what they're seeded at the end of the year. But Chiefs aren't losing this one.
Yep, I'm going with the Chiefs as well, and dare I say the Chiefs may have to go on the road for the playoffs this year. That'll be crazy, but I'm not trying to look too far ahead. I got Kansas City.
Yeah, again, not much to talk about here. I think that guys, got a fantasy question for you guys. I hate to do this right now. Rashee Rice, right, in my flex, Rashee Rice or Brees Hall?
I'd say
Rashid.
Yeah, I'd say Rashid just because I think they had the opportunity to score a lot of points against the Raiders.
And he's been playing good football these last few weeks. At least 60, 70 yards in every game, last 4 or 5 games.
And Mahomes isn't going to throw the Kadarius Toney this week, so I mean that limits his options right there.
Yeah, it's either Kelsey or Rice, honestly, or Jerick McKinnon. So
yeah,
he's got at least 10.
But Washington does have the worst defense in the league. You can't go wrong with either pick, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I feel like Breece Hall could be nasty again, especially with the pass catching too, not even just the running. Like Breece Hall could be nasty too. So we'll talk about that a little bit more after the show. I got the Chiefs in this matchup. Guys, come on. What are we talking? Next game, can we move on?
Yeah. Damn, the NFL must have loved the Eagles and Chiefs giving them easy games to finish the year. But
yeah, bro, this
Giants twice game of the year.
Now, this is the game I was talking about. But this could also be game of the week here. This is the one I was
think this is game of the week.
Brock Purdy, Lamar Jackson. I think that if Brock Purdy wins this one, man, I think that MVP case is pretty locked and sealed at that point. So who do you have for this one? Can Brock Purdy bring it home and win the MVP?
So the only person, if he wins this game, who I think he'd be competing with is his teammate who he hands the ball off to. But, I mean, at the same time, every touchdown C-Mac is catching, Brock Purdy's throwing. So I think that, that kind of helps it be a QB award. The Ravens will be a good test for them because especially under Lamar Jackson, it's not always pretty. It's usually not pretty, but their winning percentage is off the charts when he's playing. Just ultimately, they're going across the country, and the Niners are just so dogged up. They probably got 9 superstars on their team at least. And I know Keaton Mitchell, the season-ending injury for the Ravens, that's kind of a tough one because he was showing strides. I know their running game isn't determined by one player. It's more of a system, but I just don't know. The Niners look like the best team by more than a little bit. I know they had that weird 3-game skid, but think about it. They beat the Cowboys and Eagles, who are supposedly their biggest competition in the NFC, and they put up 42 on both of them. Ravens might be slightly better than those teams, but I think they're at home on Christmas. Lights will be shining bright. The atmosphere will be lit, and I think the Niners, are just a little more stacked, and that's what does it for me.
These are statistically the top 2 defenses in the NFL. The Ravens are the 1 seed in the AFC, Niners 1 seed in the NFC. This is wow. This might be the best defense we probably have seen Brock Purdy play against this year. So I agree with you all in the sense that we could see if he's really deserving of that MVP award. But to pick a winner for this game, man, this is another tough one. I'm going to go with the 49ers only because they're at home. The 49ers are at home. I think they'll win this game, but dare I say we could see this matchup again in the Super Bowl. I really think we could see this matchup again in the Super Bowl. If the cards play out right, maybe Baltimore gets home field. Who knows? I think they have the Dolphins next week, so they have a couple tough games coming up if they want to get that 1 seed locked in, but I'm going to go with the 49ers at home here. I think their pass rush will prove to be too much for the Ravens offensive line. Ronnie Stanley's kind of been in and out of the lineup with injuries. Same with their other tackle, Morgan Mogus. So I think Chase Young, this is where you earn your money. Nick Bosa, we know what you can do. But I think the Niners will win.
I just talked about if the Niners win, that Purdy probably is going to get MVP. Vice versa, if Purdy loses, what happens? Like who's really the front runner at that point? I feel like that's a solid question there. So it'll be a good game for sure. This is definitely going to sway the MVP candidacy. So ultimately, I am going to go with the 49ers, though. I do think that they are leaps and bounds better than every other team in the NFL when they're fully healthy and have all their weapons available. So going to go with the 49ers, but it'll be interesting to see who can win this game and kind of interesting to see how the MVP candidacy conversation gets swayed depending on this game. So, yep, that's what we got for this week. That was our last game of the week. Does anybody else have anything to add?
Just can't wait for these games, man. It's gonna be a wonderful holiday week slate of games.
Absolutely. Hope you guys like, comment, subscribe, enjoyed the video, man. Make sure you guys come back next week as we'll have our picks, and we're getting closer and closer to playoff time, man. It's about that time. We'll see y'all soon, man. Have a good one.